Yep. Also keep in mind I'm not a streamer, so this is the first time that I actually do something like this. Last time I did it on Discord again, 1-1. So if there's any technical issue you can't hear me, let me know. I will try to sort it out. What happened? If we are all ready and everything is up and running, we can move to the events/stream channel, the one below, because that one is the one that is basically self-moderated. If you have any question, there's a function to kind of raise your hand, and there's 3 or 4 here in this channel that have the kind of the possibility of letting you speak. Again, is because otherwise, you know, if someone forgets the microphone, there's a family around, there's TV on, it can be a bit messy. But by doing so, is a bit more understandable, I guess, I suppose. Does it make sense? Let's move downstairs. Okay. Can someone please confirm that you can hear everything on YouTube? Yeah, just wanted to make sure because, you know, since YouTube saves the recording, I want to make sure that I have my voice and your voice as well. If you have any question, yeah, then feel free. Yeah, thank you. Or merci. I don't know. You're Swiss. Too many languages. Just want to make sure that everything works fine. Again, if you have any question, anytime, raise your hand, and yeah, feel free to ask whatever you want. So, I put together a very short, very easy presentation. It's just kind of to give a bit of background about the RIO. In theory, we can discuss these topics for, I don't know, a week, every day, 8 hours a day, and it won't be able to finish because there's so much to say about it. So I try to give a brief introduction about the role, about the OG9, about the crew, and then the main tool that the RIO uses, which is the OG9. Let's start. So this is before starting, a couple of points. So DCS is a video game, in case you didn't know. So I know it's a bit silly, but this is better to clarify these points. So our life is not at stake. We can try, you know, trial and error. We can set up whatever we want in terms of scenario. We can respawn as much as we want. We don't have to take into account maintenance. We don't have random breakdowns, these sort of things, unless you enable them. We don't spend the whole day flying and studying. So, and the documentation that is normally freely available, so not classified, not restricted, is normally very basic or quite outdated. So we will see later what I mean. And the situations and the scenarios that we have in DCS, we can replicate in DCS, are kind of unlimited. It's a sandbox. And for example, a classic point that I raise is that the Cold War in DCS technically never finished. So if you jump in a server, unless there's a specific set in terms of era, you can have all sorts of aircraft fighting together. Problem is the real life is different. So we have lots of changes in terms of geopolitics that happen with the end of the Cold War. For example, in terms of Tomcat, the M120 was tossed in a bin and they mounted the Lantern. Although they did try, for example, the separation of the missile, these sort of things. The M152, successor of the Phoenix, was again cancelled, and you know, the Soviet bombers and whatnot were still a threat in the 2000. Probably we would have not got the BU, but only F-14Ds and lots of them. So yeah, it's a bit different, but there are these things. It's better if we keep them in mind, because some things work when you take them into a kind of a realistic context, but they kind of fall apart when you go into casual or quick servers. Then the F-14B is still work in progress. There's a brand new build that I set up just a few minutes ago, but if you see some oddity here and there, again, this is not the final version. And lastly, lots of points that we will discuss together can be applied everywhere. So if we talk about geometry, you can apply it to the Tomcat, to the Phantom, to the Hornet, it doesn't matter. And when you acquire them, you can actually, again, they can help no matter what you're flying. So it's not just something that works as a radar intercept officer when you take them away from the avionics. So, from zero to RIO, very encouraging title. So, what is the most critical parameter, in your opinion, to win a DCS fight? Any idea? Any suggestion? Anyone raising their hands? No, someone did it, but it's better if you just Skipjack said AMRAM. yeah. Or can you just monitor? Calir and Skip can enable people. If you can do it for me, please, because I'm full screen with the presentation. I don't see them. Thank you. Hello. Okay, we have a winner. That was easy. So how do you build effective situational awareness? So you have the avionics, so your radar warning receiver, your lantern pod, whatever pod you have, FLIR or TCS, which is not a FLIR. Then you have the controllers. They give you a picture, they give you all sorts of information. You have your wingman, one or more, or your leader, depending on what you're flying. Then you have so-called external avionics. External because they don't really, these things don't really work if you consider a single aircraft. Like TACAN, you need another aircraft or tanker or ground station. Data link, same. IFF, you are interrogating someone else. So lots of different things that you should be able to put together. And also, situational awareness is not just about the hostile. So it also where you are matters. What the target is doing, the type, your aircraft position, as already mentioned. If you have friendly assets around, what they're doing, like if you have, another group of friendlies doing a cap in the area, these sort of things. So lots of information that you need to digest. It's not that easy. So let's have a look at DCS. So in DCS, aircraft avionics varies a lot depending on the model you're flying. If you're flying a Sabre, an F4, or a Tomcat, or an Hornet, they're all different. And sometimes a very big issue of DCS is that different developers follow different standards, or the different standards are related to when the module was made. So the MiG-21 is probably, I think, is the first third-party module. The Hornet still has some issues, like the radar warning receiver that I always talk about, or the simulation of the OG9, for example, is not as good as the APQ-120 that I did later. So there are differences. Then controllers, humor controllers outside simulation, mil-sim groups, these sort of things are kind of rare. There's some people that volunteer maybe on some OGIT server, these sort of things, but they're kind of rare. The AI one is basically useless, because the AI, all the AI does is giving you lots of information, but yeah, it's just like a boogie dope or a picture, and the picture maybe is just all sorts of aircraft around you, even the ones that you don't really care about, and it doesn't tell you to commit, it doesn't give you heroic correlation, and also it's full of bugs. I raised them already. I remember Big New commented on one of the videos that they made saying that we would have looked into it, but nothing changed. The big problem is that if you imagine like an E3, the radar as a kind of revolution, so it takes a certain amount of time kind of to refresh in a part of airspace. It's about 10 seconds, I think the NATO website says. But in DCS, the information is updated in real time, and also there's no probability of detection. So a big issue that I put in another video is, for example, an extract from the war in between South Africa and Angola, with the Cubans around as well. And in some cases, the radars maybe missed the spot, so it took a certain amount of time to refresh information. And since it doesn't update in real time, as it does in DCS, that's a big issue, because you can have information that is 20-30 seconds too late or old. And so especially if as the range goes down, angles change quite fast, so some information is 30 seconds old, it can be a problem. DCS, no, you spam boot up and you get perfect information all the time, which is a bit of a bummer, especially if you play Cold War servers. Then we have Wingman, and yeah, next question. Data link. Data link, again, depends on the module and the era. DBU doesn't have a data link. Still has the link 4, sorry. Doesn't have link 16. And the original F-14D didn't have it either. It was introduced later. It's very useful. It's great to build situational awareness. The problem that I have, not that I have, but that I noticed lots of players coming from modern aircraft to Tomcat or Phantom is that when you take them away, the SA page, data link, they kind of they don't know what to do anymore, because they rely so much on the data link that taking it away, it becomes a huge issue. So what I would prefer is to start and learn from what you have in your aircraft, and then add the data link on top of it. Now, F-14, different. We have two brains working together, in theory, which is a huge force multiplier. An example, and there's a brief video later that I'll show you, is an interview where a pilot of Tornado F3 fought against the ACT against the F-15C. F-15C vastly superior in terms of performance and capabilities. The Tornado F3 was, the normal Tornado Air to ground that kind of got pushed into the high levels, but it was more of an interceptor, or than especially later with AMRAAM and a very good radar, than kind of a proper 4th generation fighter comparable to F-15C. So what they did is trying to mess up with the situational awareness of the F-15s. So turning, running, moving, pumping, these sort of things. You'll hear a couple of minutes from the interview later. And because if you have if a pilot is on his own, he needs to maintain formation, check on the radar, check communication, weapon system, and everything. So the workload is very high compared to 2 people. I don't know if it's related, but I'm thinking about the F-15EX, which is fairly new, and that's a dual. I'm not familiar with the aircraft, but probably there's a reason why the EX is a thing. So, problem: the team, the crew, is as strong as the synergy and the proficiency of both. So if you're not new to the Tomcat, if you have flown with a new pilot or a new RIO, they can be a bit challenging. And it takes a bit of time to kind of build a relation and learn to work with each other. And if someone is not familiar with the avionics in the first, in premise, is a problem. Again, it's not always easy. So here we get to the second part. So we said that the Tomcat has 2 crews. Let's see a basic, kind of, not really basic, but introduce pros and cons of having 2 person, and CRM, so crew resource management. So this is the interview. Problem: if you have muted YouTube, you won't be able to hear it. I have enabled the subtitles so you can follow it there. If you want, I can shut up I can let the video run, and you can unmute the stream and listen to the video from there. It's up to you. Otherwise, the subs will appear on the screen. Okay, and go. Come again. That's weird. Why not? Oh, no, I see that's the audio that is broadcasting, so I'm not really sure why it's not going out. Let me just try something very quick, which is adding the audio from the browser itself. One sec. What I can do later, worst case scenario, is sharing the presentation. So we can skip it and then you can watch it later. Yeah, let me just give it last attempt. Let's see if it works. Let me know.
Called wall. If there's 4 of them, they are in line abreast, forming a wall.
Does it work? It works? Okay, cool. So I'll restart this interview.
What's the advantage? We had 2 people in the cockpit versus 1, if we're talking about the F-15C.
Yeah.
And that's where the weak point was, and that was the point that we attacked. How did we do that? We tried to confuse them. The American tactics, they're not frightened of anybody. They will come in the high 30s, maybe the low 40,000 feet, in a formation called wall. If there's 4 of them, they are in line abreast, forming a wall. They don't care if they're putting out contrails. We would in the early days because we didn't want to be seen. They didn't care. Their attitude was, we're coming down the middle of the street. What are you going to do about it? And it can be quite intimidating when you look out and about 40 miles away, you can see 4 white lines coming towards you in a line, knowing that they're coming for you. But anyway, how do we do it? At range, again, it's to destroy their situational awareness. So we would start to do some tricks, particularly if we had JTIDs, we could keep track of each other. And by that, I mean we're going into 90-degree turns, breaking apart. We're doing big height changes, basically to try and disappear out of their radar scan. Because you've got a single F-15 pilot who's flying his aircraft, but is also trying to operate his radar and talk to his other elements in the formation. And we would just try and catch him out by maybe the radar not quite following us and suddenly we're gone. They would hopefully coordinate between the 4 aircraft. We, if we've got 4 aircraft, are now trying to give them 4 different targets in different parts of the sky, possibly 2 having turned tail and maybe gone back 10 miles. We call that a pump. So you pump back, then face back up again, perhaps now not in their radar scan.
Okay. I suggest you to mute the stream. There are a couple more videos later. So, Tomcat, old, but being 2 people inside is a huge advantage. If the Tornado could do it, in the Tomcat you can do it even more easily, in my opinion. Especially in a video game. So, this is kind of a recap of the situation where we are with the RIO. So the RIO is not a pilot. Instead, for example, the early F-4E in the back, the F-4 Air Force Air 4 in the back, they add a proper pilot. The stick that we have, the HCU, is not a control. It's not to control the aircraft, as we know. So the RIO in general handles the backseat system, so the radar that we have. If there's a landing port, attached, the bulk of the configuration for countermeasures, and many other things, like setting up the data links, the M3, M4 modes for the IFF, these sort of things. Especially before the BU, which had a fancy HUD, the DVGAR, or whatever it's called, had to kind of pass the situational awareness that you kind of put together to the pilot, because the pilot, yeah, he had a repeater. Again, if you are keeping an eye on your leader, checking your speed, altitude, etc., you can very easily check the TID repeater as well. With the AD is different, but that's something that the RIO used to do. But most importantly, the RIO is part of the crew. The RIO doesn't work on his own. You know the joke about the stick monkey. And the pilot, again, is not just a chauffeur. They need to work together. And this is fundamental. And if you want to play and be very effective with a Tomcat. So normally, the roles and the relation between pilot and RIO can be defined in many ways. If you know what your pilot or your RIO want, you can. It becomes kind of second nature, or you can create kind of ad hoc contracts. Even just a kind of a bullet list, if you just to keep it simple, where you define who handles the communication, or how do you deal with the radar handover. So, for example, let's say the pilot spots something as a tele. Can the pilot just take away the radar, or maybe the RIO passes the information, how it works? Just little things that keep keep the relation, on a good level, and makes everything easier. Because there's nothing more frustrating as a RIO than the pilot, when the pilot takes the radar over, takes control of the radar and doesn't say anything. That's so annoying. At the end of the day, again, as we said, the proficiency, synergy, efficiency, all come together when you play in a multi-crew aircraft. And also, having fun is a huge thing as well. Now, I have 2 videos in a row, this one and the next one. I'll shut up again. If you want, you can unmute the stream and you should be working fine this time.
So getting used to that 2-crew environment was challenging, because nobody actually took you aside and said, this is how to work as a crew. It was implied, but nobody actually taught you how to work as a crew. Mm-hmm. In the commercial world nowadays, we train people to work as multi-crew. That just didn't exist in the Air Force. Nobody had heard of crew cooperation or crew resource management back in the late 80s. It was just somebody was in the back and you sort of try to work it out. And for those of us who were used to doing it all, suddenly we were now stick monkeys and driving the navigator around who controlled an intercept. And sometimes it was quite frustrating when the navigator was doing something that you thought was daft and you actually needed to do slightly differently. Yeah. Whereas in later years, we got better at training people how to work as a crew on the F3. And when you get a really good crew that work together really, really well, then, it's brilliant. The way that it was delineated, and some people made it really, really strict, right? You can have the radios when we're doing air traffic type stuff, but when we're tactical, I have the radios. And you go, well, yeah, that's okay, that's fine. And the basic thing, particularly when the navigator was running an intercept, that sort of made sense. But then when you got into a bigger tactical environment, then it made less sense, because sometimes as the pilot, you might see something or find yourself in a situation where something needs to be called. And there's 2 ways you can do it. You can have a discussion with your backseater to get understanding. That's 10 seconds gone. And then he's got to put out the correct message, or alternatively, you put the message out yourself, and direct things. And that's certainly the direction that we went. The good crews, the good pilot navigator combos that worked well together accepted that and didn't get upset.
Okay, no more videos going forward. So, before getting to this slide, why I put these two videos there, to kind of demonstrate that crew coordination is not something that relates only to us. It's actually a thing. Modern day civil aviation, we have the CRM, but even in a video game, even if you're just playing football with a couple of friends, playing together, we are still working as a team. So we need to learn to play with the others and kind of complement each other. And this applies to basically everything, from radios to every other aspect. Speaking of radios, for example, this is how I used to do it. So the pilot used to handle ATC. This is my contract basically with the pilot, ATC or carrier comms. My reasoning was that if you have instruction from the ground, it's better if the pilot, is there. The pilot can react quickly if something changes. As a RIO, I used to handle the tactical comms because I'm in touch with the AWACS itself. I see my TID, I see my DDD, I have all information with me, so it's easier to correlate. But if there was something related to the wingman or the leader of the formation, then the pilot would take over. I don't know, for example, classic example is when you're flying with someone new, and even if you're just doing a cap, someone is very new since it's a video game. Remember in the beginning I said we don't spend 8 hours a day flying and learning. Maybe you want to tell them when you are turning the other leg of the cap, because they're new, they don't really know how to do it. So I always left all this stuff to the pilot. And the other big thing is everyone can speak up whenever something important was happening. Not only emergencies, but everything pertinent. Now let's move to our favorite thing of the Tomcat, the OG9. Actually, before that, any questions so far? Yep, let's go forward. Remember, I don't see the chat or anything else because I'm full screen on the presentation. I'm not fancy streamer with 2 screens. Didn't think about setting it up. Apologies for that. So, OG9, piece of junk, dates back to the 60s. Actually, it was kind of science fiction thing, probably for the era. But if you compare it to the modern day radars, yeah, it's very outdated. It is analog, and it's actually older than the F-14 because it was meant to be used on the F-14B. I think it was tested in the beginning, at the end of the 60s, I think 67, 68. So yes, it's kind of quite old. Again, compared to, it's also older and outdated compared in terms of technology to the F-15C that entered service in the 76, because the F-16 was fancy and digital, which leads to some discussions that we can have at some point about the generation, because most of the time the Tomcat is considered a 4th generation fighter, but I heard some crews saying that it's kind of 3.5, because one of the common things for the 4th generation is being digital, so the Tomcat wasn't, but the application is kind of moves away from the 3rd and moves to the, so it's kind of in the middle, that's why 3.5, but yeah, it's not set in stone. The OG9 doesn't have MPRF, from my understanding, is because it's very bulky and takes a lot of space if you try to implement it with digital, with analog tech. So it wasn't there. They couldn't fit it. That's why we have Pulse. So Pulse was maintained to provide kind of an all aspect capability, because Pulse Doppler, as we know, has some issues. And if you think about it, by the way, the front gunner has a series of modes that you can operate, and all of them are Pulse. And all of them, I think, besides one, are kind of short range modes. So the radar modes that we have in Pulse Doppler, we have pulse Doppler search, range wise search, track wise scan, and the STT. In pulse we have pulse search and pulse STT. Something that I didn't write down here is that the Phoenix can be launched with basically both pulse Doppler and pulse, but it's guided only in pulse Doppler mode. Next, the detection range depends a lot on the mode that you have selected and how raw the information is. So pulse Doppler search, for example, sees farther away than turquoise scan, for example. We get into the details when we move to the cockpit. Pulse Doppler, another big thing that it offers is the look down, shoot down capability. Because one of the big issues of pulse is that it returns pretty much everything, so you have lots of ground clutter. If someone has played with the F4, knows what I'm talking about. Also, the pulse Doppler has two major blind spots. The main lobe clutter filter, which is the filter that removes the ground returns, and is what basically allows the Tomcat to have this look down, shoot down capability. And the zero Doppler filter, which is kind of an intrinsic limitation and is caused by, again, the lack of relative velocity. We'll see them better in cockpit, and Calir, I think, has a better explanation. No, better. Mine is always better, but Calir has a different explanation. I don't know if you want to say your definition, Calir, or how you differentiate them. Hopefully it's clear in both ways. So pulse, as I said, returns everything the radar sees, which is a problem when you're looking down, but is not affected by the two blind spots. And that's why it is maintained, as I said, as a kind of all aspect capability. So in game, the DCS of 91 is introduced in 2019. And as I said earlier as well, more modern radar simulations are more complex and thorough. Like Galinet's work in Radsban for the Mirage, or the APG-70 of the Strike Eagle, or the APQ-120 for the F4 are, more complex. I'm wondering if multi-threading was a thing, because, a few years ago we still used to have like kind of 2 or 3 threads, and probably handling the radar simulation would have been challenging. But yeah, this is what we have. So there are pros and cons in a simplified simulation. So as I said, the detection range, for example, ranges are fixed. What this means that, from my understanding, HeatBlur kind of has capped the detection range, where the probability of detection was fairly high, close to kind of maximum. But in theory, you should have kind of spurious returns at much longer ranges, but we don't have those. On the other hand, the ranges are more reliable. So it means that you can see like an F-15, let's say pops up at 90 miles, is always at 90 miles. So it's not that he's sometimes at 110 or 80, he's always at 90. And we can use that to be, let's say. Now, almost done with the presentation. PTID and TID and the DDD. So the TID, Tactical Information Display, and the DDD, so Detailed Data Display, are the two main tools. And I would argue that the DDD is the most interesting. So the PTID is the successor, is the one that we are getting in the BU. Is squared, 8 inches, so almost 20 centimeter wide, so it's huge, it's massive, and has much higher resolution. The first benefit is lantern pod, the quality of the image for the lantern pod than TCS, and also you can show way more information. We will see later when we get into the cockpit. The TID is still the old 1960 fishbowl screen. Again, very low resolution. It was not meant to have the lantern besides testing, from my understanding, but HeatBlur put it there anyway, because probably they didn't know if they could do the PTID. So yeah, it's quite limited. And every model and every module, sub-module, so to speak, of the F-14 has the fishbowl. Only the BU has the PTID so far. So the DDD is a B-scope, so it's kind of a Cartesian plane with abscissa and ordinate, and it shows different information depending on the mode you're in. So impulse is azimuth versus range, kind of a the APQ 120, so to speak. In pulse dropper mode, you have the azimuth again, or the ATA, versus the relative speed. So what is displayed is not the closure rate, is the closure rate minus the speed of the aircraft, or the Tomcat, which is a bit weird in a sense. Like speaking with a navigator, F3 navigator real life, he said, for example, that he had similar display, but at the bottom, for example, he had, I think, the main lobe clutter in the bottom, and it was kind of fixed. I don't remember, it was a few years ago. Instead, the zero Doppler. Instead, in the Tomcat, it kind of floats. It's a bit different. We'll see them better later. And the impulse mode, you have ground returns as well. You can create waypoints there. You can use it for do a fix update for the INS. You can do very bare-bone ground mapping. It can be used to find ships, for example. It works fairly well for that. But yeah, it's very limited. The APQ 120 is a much better way to has a proper ground mapping function. Also because again the DDD is a B scope, is not a PPP, PPP or PPI, like the TID if you imagine. So conclusions. Questions raised by what we've said so far. How can a RIO build situational awareness? So again, size of the discussion is never ending. So we start by a simple topic, which is the correlation between the picture or the airspace situation information that you have and what the radar says. Okay, any questions so far? Are you still awake? I don't see any hands so far, so fair enough. Right, so in game, which I'm opening right now, give me a sec. I will start by showing how I basically train or how I test actually every single module in DCS whenever it's new. Okay, you should be able to see now. So one sec, there's a pop-up from YouTube saying that I need to change something. Well, I don't know, but hopefully it's fine. It's the same kind of way in which I found so many issues with the JF-17. Same exact thing. So I spawn my IP aircraft. Always change them in case.
Just quickly, Karen.
Yep.
We have someone that asked a question in the YouTube chat, and they asked, how can you determine the target distance using pulse Doppler just via use of the DD?
We'll get there. Let's see, let's do something like that, and then we grab same aircraft, paste it, and we give it, I don't know, let's do something like that. And then in the option, you can do add, perform task, orbit, and racetrack. So what happens now, let me just check if I didn't put it too far, 70 miles, let's do a bit less. Oops. Client, I canceled the wrong one. So what happens with this target here is that it's going back and forth all the time. 5 miles, yeah, it's fine. And that's it. We are just basically sitting in our cockpit watching a target that moves back and forth. That's basically what I do every single time whenever I have a new module in my hands, because you can see in a predictable way how the radar shows information. Did I forget anything? Should be right. Should be right. Now the BU, yeah, still work in progress. They're still polishing up. This is not the final build, so if you see some artifacts and stuff, it should be, yeah, is kind of expected. It looks pretty good though. I mean, if you have watched some videos, it looks very good. Alright, so another point that I raise every single time is that I prefer to train in the mission editor without any additional mission, because you have the active or in multiplayer especially, because you can tailor your how do you call it, your scenario as you need it. So in this case, for example, the target is going back and forth, but you can actually put it kind of orthogonal, so 90 degrees, and you can study better how they move inside the outside of the mellow clutter, for example. But yeah, lots of people kind of want to learn in multiplayer, which is, in my opinion, is a problem, because you don't have the active pose, you don't have the pose at all. So if I turn on the active pose, and then I move into the backseat, my aircraft is not moving. Why so dark? I don't know, new build. Hello, this is the PTID. Oh yeah, I did the DDD as well though. Ah, there we go. Okay, so in active pose, my aircraft is there. It's not moving. And this target is going back and forth until he runs out of fuel, and then he goes and lands. So this is, I know it's boring. You know, I know people would just do pull the trigger and call it a day. But this sort of scenario is very predictable. So you know what you're looking at. You can pause anytime you want. So in my opinion, this is the best way to learn something new. Because now I can change the... Am I too far? Am I too far? Yeah, barely. So this is impulse mode. Oh no, I'm fine, I'm fine. Just checking that I'm not too far, otherwise I'll restart it. Okay. Now we can change all the settings that we want. We can play whatever with all the information that we have, all the tools that we have. Now, are you familiar with the DDD, TID? Do you want me to kind of discuss them quickly? Let me pause in the meantime. Do you want me to go through the basics of the TDD? I mean, now that the presentation is over, I'd like to be a bit more kind of interactive. So if you have any questions, just spit it out.
Yep, I just promoted someone.
For
Yep, go
me,
ahead.
at least, please.
DDD?
I'm fairly new to like F-14 RIO stuff, so
Okay.
I'm the perfect noob.
Now, well, let's stay paused. Alright, so this is the bear with me because I'm not really used to use the graphic tablet, so yeah, I normally write better. No, it's a joke. I'm awful anyway. So this is the DDD. There are some controls that are related to pulse, like pulse gain and pulse video, and these are the two pulse buttons. Everything else is either related to both or related to pulse Doppler. So I think the most interesting part is seeing how the information changes, especially in pulse Doppler, because in pulse mode there's not really a lot to say. Actually, just for completeness sake, let's go through pulse. Let me just change it a sec. So this is, sorry, what's pulse? Ah, pulse search. I'm blind. Alright, so this is in pulse. We always have the azimuth down here, and in pulse we have the range here. So the scale is 50, so it means that up there is 50, and then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Make sense? This is a brick return. Oops. This is a contact, pretty much. Now we are above the water, so you don't have any ground return. I did it on purpose. Something that is very useful, especially when you're using search mode, is the elevation strobe. Oh my. Yeah, as I said, I'm not really great with the tablet. Let's do that. The part that I consider the most is this one, which tells you which bar is scanning. At a certain point, you probably will be able to look at the DDD and kind of keep an eye with the side of the eye towards the elevation strobe, because this is what tells you the altitude of the target, even if you kind of don't know it. And how you do that. So now I'm in 4 bars, I think, by default. So if I just unpause, you can see going. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, starts again. 1, 2, 3, 4, starts again. Make sense? All good so far? I can't hear anyone.
Yeah,
no
it's
worries.
okay. Just mind the delay when you're speaking.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, because what you're seeing on the screen, is 5 seconds late. So in this case, see,
and also, Karen, just quickly, someone on Discord just mentioned that the stream is a bit dark, especially when looking at the PTID. So if you can maybe just bring up the brightness a bit higher, maybe through the gamma settings.
Yeah,
that could be maybe useful.
It wasn't this dark until the last release. I don't know if they're still working on it. Let me see. Can I do it from here?
In cockpit lighting might be a quick hacky fix if you need it.
I don't know if it works with the PTID though, because I already cranked it up. Let me know if it's fine like this. Oh yeah. Any better?
Yeah, and this should be perfect now.
Well, let me know if I can increase it a bit more. Oop. Because I already increased it.
Now they're saying it's good.
No, okay. Yeah, I don't know if these are already. As I said, work in progress. So yeah, these are the final touches, pretty much. So where were we? When we change the bars down here, we see an effect directly. So if you open the radar entirely, it takes about 15 seconds, 13 seconds, I don't remember, to scan the whole airspace. Takes ages. But you can see the elevation strobe a bit better. See, now we're scanning very high, there's nothing. Now we're scanning low, again there's nothing. Oh yeah, keep in mind, what I see is 5 seconds before what you see. So sorry about that. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about this delay. But yeah, you should be able to correlate and see when the elevation strobe is marking pretty much level and the appearance of the target. Something that I love to do is taking the raise down entirely. So even if something shows up for a fraction of a second, or just a bar refreshing, it stays there, so you know it's there. Which is great, especially when you're doing multiple things, because maybe you're not looking at the DD all the time. I remember, for example, one of the first times we were flying with the Tomcat, there was we were testing against an Hornet, and they were tasked to kind of penetrate our defenses, and they were basically skimming the sea very low, and I have the radar full open as I'm doing now. And yeah, thanks to the arrays, I kind of noticed that there was something there. If you leave the arrays as it is in default, see, appears and goes away. If you're not looking at the screen, you miss it. It takes a second that you miss it. If you take it down entirely, it's very slow. Yeah, so it stays there for much longer. Does it make sense? Now, when I say that this simulation is very simplified compared to what we have now, I mean, back in 2019, this was revolutionary. I remember there was a bug on the Hornet when the TrackWise scan was updating in between sweeps, which was nuts. So the OG9 was great. Is that there are the ranges are kind of limited and are kind of defined. Sorry, we'll see later. I'll spawn a target very far away. You see, and also there's no probability of detection. So when you see a target, is because they kind of use the range when the probability of detection is very high. It means that you can use a very high, very slow radar mode like this one, and just leave it open if you don't have anything else to do, pretty much. Whereas, let's put it this way, it takes about 13 seconds to do full sweep. If there's a probability of detection, you're not 100% certain that you have, kind of checked everything in front of you. Does it make sense? Since this is not a thing, you're happy to have this very slow refresh. With the probability of detection instead, maybe it would take 3 full sweeps, so like 30 seconds to see something, which is, it's not great. I don't know if it makes sense. I hope so. Now, the interesting part, let's take it down to maybe a couple of bars. So the interesting part is pulse Doppler, because again, in pulse is kind of easy. We are seeing the target now, the range is increasing, because again, we are in active pose, we're not moving, so we know that the range is going up, so you see the target, the brick there. This visualization is pretty much almost the F10 map, or the TID ground stabilized mode, if that makes sense. See, you can actually see the target, especially with the arrays. Let me zoom in as much as possible. You can see the tail, I don't know if you notice it in the stream, but you can kind of see that it's moving back. It's going farther away. Now, when we move to pulse Doppler, things become interesting. Now, suppose the aspect switch is a big thing, or at least for me. I don't know if you use it or not. So in pulse, I think it's supposed to filter something. In pulse Doppler, it just shifts where the main lobe clutter is shown. Let me get the sec. Okay, so if we are in nose, each of these mark 600 knots. Or not? Hold on, it's been a while. If you are in, actually, let's start by the let's start by the simpler way to do it, which is beam. Let me clean up. Okay. In a beam, which is the mode that I normally use it, especially after the first intercept. This is 0 relative velocity. This is 600. Oh boy, and this is minus 600. It means that this is 1,200 knots. This is minus 1,200 knots. So these are all knots. Make sense? Now, what the aspect switch does, is moving up or down this whole scale. So if we move to nose, basically we see higher closures, higher relative velocity. Probably is a bit more clear. So if we move to nose, we have minus 600 here, 0, 600, 1,200, 1,800. In tail, we see a low opening closure rates instead. So the 0 goes up, the 0 is up here, and everything cascades accordingly. So we have 600, 0, minus 600, minus 1,200, etc. Now, why I like it in beam is because this cross here in the middle is basically as large as the main lobe clutter filter. Is pretty much spot on. I don't know if he's intentional or not, but yeah, he's nice. This is a very nice thing. So the main lobe clutter filter, and now I'm gonna do an abomination because I'm stuck with it. I need to hire someone that can actually draw a straight line. Is something like, oh good lord, something like that. Okay, hold on. I know how to fix this. I just need to change the action. Aha. Ta-da. Okay, fixed it. Okay, so it means that this is 266 knots, so the plus minus 133 that we said. And we know that this is a blind spot for the radar. So if I pause, you will see what I mean when the target enters this part of the airspace. Probably need to speed up a bit. What is the target doing now? It's probably turning. Come on, turn up. Ah, there we go. So now he's moving away. Sorry, he's moving towards us, and he's about to enter the middle of clutter. Why is moving toward us? Because the top part of the DDD is where there's a positive closure rate. So this is V sub C greater than 0, which is not really V sub C, but is relative. And this is sub C minus 0. It's more like opening and closing. So the higher the target is, the return is, the higher is closing towards our position. I know this is a bit counterintuitive, it's a bit of a mess, but if you understand this part, I mean, you'll be amazing as a RIO. Let me know if it's not clear. Does it make sense so far? I know it's a bit tricky.
Someone has raised their hand. I'm gonna give them the floor.
Hi, sorry, just to clarify, because this is something that would be good for me anyway, but you mentioned it's the main lobe clutter, or is that the zero Doppler filter that he's going through in the middle there, or is that the main lobe clutter, or again, kind of that difference?
No, that's the notching. That's pretty much a notching. So when a target is there in the middle, it's notching. Oh, actually, I can show you quickly. Let me just, let's see. See, another thing why I train as a single player in the mission editor is because, again, I can accelerate time, so I can see what I want when I want, almost. There we go. See, now the target is, the closure rate is going down, and is about to disappear. And if I go and have a look at the F-10 map, there we go. See, is almost perpendicular to where we are now. Let me clean up this mess. Okay.
Okay, I think I understand now. So yeah, and if he was traveling the same direction and the speed difference was less than 100, then that would be zero Doppler.
Yeah, this is not perfectly orthogonal, but almost there. It's because, again, notching is not just a few knots or tens of knots as it is in the F-15 or modern digital radar. It's very wide. It's 266 knots. But yeah, if you can, I don't know if it makes sense now that you see it from the top. From
it
the
does,
F-10
yeah.
map, yeah. So when a target goes into the middle of clutter, is basically orthogonal almost, kind of 90 degrees compared to the radar. Again, not the aircraft per se, but the radar. So my Tomcat could be going this direction. Doesn't really matter per se, because it's the radar that is turning. Of course, yeah, this is well beyond the gimbal limits, but just to give you an idea.
And sorry, and I don't know if this is digressing too much, but using the DDD then, if you were interrogating that dot that you've got as a contact return, how would you be able to tell that, okay, this is someone who's notching me versus someone who's changing their speed, their closure speed, coming direct or away from me?
Because, so, let me go back to the, let me clean this up. Okay. So everything that is beyond this line is going towards me, pretty much. Everything that is below is going away, is opening. So this should be opening. And this is closing. So closing, it means that the V sub C, so the closure rate is greater, is positive. Opening is moving away, and the V sub C is negative. So if you see a return here, it means that it's coming in direction. If you see it down there, it means that it's moving away. I'll show you again. That's the beauty of doing things here in with the editor, because I can do basically whatever I want. So if I unpause and I just let the time speed up the time. Okay, let's see where he is now. See, the the contact is dropping quite quickly, and now he's moving away. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's moving away. So let's do another thing. Okay, now where do you think it is now? I don't know if you can see. Let me just redraw it. So now he is pointing in this direction. What do you think it is on the DDD? So if this is a DDD, which is not a DDD, but just, would it be up here, up there?
So he'd be on the lower half because he's opening, yeah.
So it should be down here. Okay, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees? Everyone is shy.
No,
Yep.
yeah, I agree with that. I just have a question
Yeah, go ahead.
about that. How do you differentiate someone that is orbiting like your contact is right now, and let's say an aircraft that you are catching up, and so he's gonna have a positive closure rate because you're catching him up, you're on his 6, but then if he accelerates and like massively and then outruns you, he's gonna go down on the DDD to the opening parts. And so how do you differentiate like a contact that is just running away from you and the one that is notching you?
If he's running away, he's below, and if we're going in the same speed, we'll end up in the zero Doppler filter that I show later. Zero Doppler, so this is the main lobe pretty much when you're in beam. Remember, this is in beam. The zero Doppler filter is down there. So if the target is down there, it is in this interval here. Let's say this is the first interval and this is the second, so it's easier to kind of identify them. This is the zero Doppler filter. If a target is in the first interval, it means that it's moving away. If I catch up with him, he will probably enter in the zero Doppler, because at that point we go at the same speed. And then it depends what happens. If the target keeps moving away, it can go beyond the zero Doppler, down here, for example. So I'll put down some numbers. Let's say that the target that is in this side here is between, I don't know, let's say down to minus 200 knots. It doesn't make sense, but just to give you an idea. Minus 300 is in the zero Doppler if you're moving at 300, and this is minus, oops, come on. This is minus 400, minus in theory, or actually, yeah, minus, because if I use plus it becomes positive. So, and this is that plus. So if the target is moving away and is going at 200 knots, opening, so he's faster than us by 200 knots, it will be in this area. Let me write down more stuff, otherwise it's complicated. Let's say we're going 300 knots. The target is, well, it depends. So if he's down here, he's probably should be around 400 up to 500. No, what am I saying? No, I'm making it this more complicated than it is. Hold on, let me get rid of this stuff, otherwise it gets. Hold on, 1 sec. It's easy to overcomplicate things, because the DDD is not complicated per se once you understand how it works. So a target that is moving away, it is in this area, up to 200 knots. If he's moving away by 300 knots, it means that he's matching our speed. So in this area, it's kind of matching our speed plus minus 100 knots. So this is, which is what I wanted to write earlier, 14 plus minus 100 knots. And if he is moving away even faster, then he's down there, in this area. I think it will make more sense when I show you how to set up kind of this example in the editor. That's why I said that I wanted to show you the zero Doppler filter later and not now, because it's easy to overcomplicate if you don't see it, if you don't see how it behaves. in a pre-prepared mission.
Cool, thank you.
So let's stick to the mail-up clutters at the moment, because again, it's one of the main things and it's easier. So let's speed up time a bit. If I move to tail, as I said, in tail, everything is shifted up. In nose, everything is shifted down. So we see kind of higher closure rates. In beam, again, mail-up clutter is right in the middle, is as big as the cross. Why is relevant? It's relevant because if you're tracking a target with a TacView scan, for example, and you're making sure that your Phoenix is tracking correctly, you want it to connect. If you see the target doing what it's doing now, you need to react. You can react in different ways, with geometry, or you can take the mail-up clutter filter off, which is down there. So if I take the mail-up clutter filter off, see that now I see it. It's not really something that you're supposed to do. And also, my next video will be about the extrapolated tracks, which are much more reliable now, which is great. So if a target enters and leaves as fast as this target through the MLC, you probably even don't care about doing any maneuver or any checks on the mail-up clutter filter. Now, last thing is the AGC Trace. Let me get rid of this. Okay, let's go back. Something that I want you to notice is the AGC Trace. Let me take down the erase a bit. Okay, keep an eye on the trace, because the trace represents returns that might be not strong enough to represent a break on the display. We cannot control the gain. The controls are there but not implemented. But it means that you can keep an eye on something that is in mail-up clutter or zero Doppler filter. Again, let me speed up time. Okay, if you keep an eye on the AGC, the break will disappear. But the AGC is still there. See? So this is an additional tool that you can use to say that something is there. I can't see it, but it's there. Okay, any questions to the sorry? Any question about the mail-up clutter and the DDD especially? Because on the TID, I mean, you don't really see much. I mean, you see the target maneuvering and disappearing, and that's pretty much it.
Sorry. There's two things. There's someone asking to speak from Discord, but we also have quickly a question from the YouTube chat. So I'll go with the question from the YouTube chat first.
Yep.
Someone asks, what does Pulse Video do? I've seen it being mentioned in manuals to use it to get a better picture on the DDD, but I couldn't find what it actually does. It's a question on YouTube.
Stronger returns, pretty much. I think it just it doesn't. I don't think it works as a gain. So the gain works on the signal processing. From understanding, video is just the video itself. So you can highlight something a bit more. I don't know if it does any function that is not implemented, but say if I take it down entirely, you don't see anything. Maybe it can be useful to again differentiate better different things without touching the gain, or maybe to highlight more. So the erase highlights things because the position of the target is refreshed, but the erase pretty much leaves the contact there. Pulse video instead kind of makes it be more visible. I'm not sure. I don't remember if there's anything else related to this control, but I don't think so. Might be wrong. But see, if I take it down, the return disappears pretty much.
Okay, and then I've given the floor to Bad Eye. He had a question on the YouTube.
Yeah,
on the Discord.
Yeah, in your earlier example where you were showing something on the AGC Trace, but it was filtered out. In that situation, what is your first response? Would you just turn the filter off, or wait, or what would you do in that situation if you saw something on the trace but you didn't actually see a return?
Depends.
Because you knew it was filtered.
Do I know that the target was there? That's the big question. Because
possibly, I mean, let's say no. Let's say we're just scanning the skies and suddenly we see something on the AGC Trace. Would you just wait it out, or would you start adjusting your filters to try to see more information?
I'll probably switch to pulse Doppler search if I'm not there already, and then to range search. So I'll show the example later. So I said that there's no probability of detection, and the ranges are kind of fixed. This means that you can use the AGC Trace, pulse Doppler, and the other modes to kind of understand the range, even if nothing appears on the TID. I'll show again the example a bit better later. But let's say you have just the trace. In the latest video, the last video I made, I think the last one or the previous one, I considered the example of an F-15. The F-15 as a trace appears at like 140 miles, something like that. So you take the AGC trace, you take the elevation, let me just mark them down. So you will see probably like something smaller, much smaller. And then you correlate the trace with the elevation bar here. And you have you know that something is there, and you know if it's higher or lower. And then you can use, for example, the pages that I made for the antenna elevation angle to kind of understand properly where it is. So you know that something is there and is very far. To check the range, you can switch to pulse Doppler search, because in pulse Doppler search, the signal must be stronger than a certain amount, certain threshold, to appear as a brick. So if something doesn't appear as a brick, it means that it's there, but it's farther than 110, 120 miles for a fighter. And then you move to STT, range of search, and TacView. Why? Because those use the FM ranging, because they calculate the range as well. And the FM ranging is the one that is most limited in terms of range. And that's why you see like an F-15 and 90 miles in range of search. Again, I'll show later. It's much easier, like the zero Doppler, it's much easier when you actually see it happening. But to recap, you start by seeing something on the AGC, you correlate the altitude there, and also the position on the DDD, so you know if it's opening, closing, or these sort of things. Then you use pulse Doppler search, range of search, to actually kind of eyeball the distance. And so you can have a decent situational awareness up to 150 miles, pretty much. And in fact, the last missions that I flew, I was able to kind of double the range of an AWACS that was, I don't know, 50, 60, 100 miles behind our lines, just because I can see so far with the Tomcat. Again, you probably don't know what it is, but you know that something is there. And then, you know, can take a piece of paper or, you know, open keyboard, write it down, or at least, you know, remember that something is there somewhere. And then the next step is correlating maybe the RWR and this sort of thing. So you take bits of information here and there, and you build your situational awareness. It's much easier when we see it. What I want to show now is the zero Doppler, if there are no more questions about the main lobe clutter. But does it make sense? Do you understand? Because it's important. Do you understand where is it and how to see it? Everyone's happy?
Yep. People in the chat are saying it's all good.
I know it seems very complicated. is actually easier than it sounds like, than it looks like. For the zero Doppler, the easiest way to do it is, let's say we're going 0.8, and then I'm showing you how I make these tests, so you can actually recreate them later, and you see how easy it is. So what I just do is adding a bit of waypoints and then change the speed. So hold on, I have a epic pen bar in the middle. Go away, they're gone. Let me add some waypoints. So every few miles, again, since I'm a single player, I can accelerate time, so don't get bored. Every few miles, I'll change the speed of the aircraft, or this target that I'm chasing, and I will see how it appears and disappears. So I'm going Mach 0.8. Let's say the first, how many miles are these? Yeah, 7 miles. Let's keep it at 0.8, and then we can have it go at, I don't know, Mach 1.5. And then it slows down to 0.6. And then it goes back to 0.8. And then, I don't know, Mach 2. And then 0.6 again. So the reference is our speed. That's what matters pretty much. So 483 knots. So the problem with zero Doppler filter is that it's not fixed. So the DDD, oops, hold on a sec, I forgot to change this aircraft to, well, anything works, veteran. What I was saying, yeah, the problem of zero Doppler filter is that it's not fixed. So main lobe clutter is in the middle in beam, is down below if you're in nose, and is high up if you're in tail. Zero Doppler floats depending on the speed of the F-14, which is very annoying. But as a rule of thumb, as long as you can, if you can keep kind of closing speed, kind of a positive closure rate, so you don't have any of these issues. So now I'm not gonna use active pose because we need the closure. So let me think, how can I show it better? Probably one bar. So see, there's something on the AGC Trace. We don't know what it is. If we move to pulse, 20 miles for example, 50 is better. We know that something is there. So now we can track it. We can track this target by using pulse. If I use pulse video, no, it's already strong enough. You don't see it anyway. I don't know if you've noticed how I use the arrays. Kind of if you hold shift and you use the, for example, the mouse wheel, it goes up and down entirely, kind of in a second, rather than scrolling slowly, which is basically what I do. Crank it up, erase, crank it down. So we are in pulse Doppler search, and the target is, oh, let's use range of search actually. So even better, TacView scan, so we have information. So now, let's see. Let's use beam so we know where we are. So target is about to disappear. The track becomes extrapolated, and a few seconds later is recorrelated again, especially if you have a missile that is flying. Oh, I didn't think about the fact that we can overtake this contact. Hold on a sec. Why is it turning back? Hold on, let me see. I might have messed up something. Why is it flying backwards? let's do something else. I don't know if they have sorted out the AI yet. Sorry about that. It was a bit weird though. No. I prefer this one to go to 0.5 and then 2 again. And 0.5, 2 again, and 0.5. Let's get them a bit closer. And mine a bit. Okay, I was a bit perplexed. I have no idea why it was flying back. Let's give it another go. Loading times are a bit weird, but again, work in progress. I don't think they have optimized yet. Okay, so where were we? 1 bar. Let's do 50. Raise down. Scan is fine. So now we're in pulse. We see that the target is there, so we know there's something. I mean, we can clearly see. We pulse. We can actually even STT if we want. Nothing is appearing in pulse Doppler. Now is coming up. Let's go beam. So the closure rate is now plus 112. Increasing. Let me see if I can zoom up a little bit more. Why is it going this way? I'm perplexed now. Can someone... okay, I got it. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Sorry about that. Huh, I told him to orbit, that's why. Okay, we made it. Fingers crossed. So as I was saying, in theory, setting up this example is very easy, unless you are old and sleep deprived. Otherwise you just mess up, as I just did. 1 bar. And it's good that you are all muted so I don't hear you laughing. Okay. Maybe we made it. Okay. Now the target, the closure rate is negative. Finally. So he's opening and he's running away. Now what is value? Let me get the pen. When this value is about between plus 100 and minus 100, you see the target disappearing. At the moment, it's accelerated to Mach I think 2 I set, so it's flying away very quickly. Keep an eye on the DDD because we are about to see the zero Doppler. We should be probably around this area. See, now it's there, and now it's not there anymore. This track is about to become extrapolated. There we go. And now, since it's accelerated, once the closure, again, because the closure is plus minus 100 knots, once it becomes higher or lower, the target will appear again. Let me re-hook it. See, now is 120. Besides the debacle of setting up this scenario, does it make sense what you're seeing now?
Question from my side: are we not looking at the MLC here?
No, because we're in beam. So the MLC is up here.
MLC should be relative to your ground speed, right? Not the zero Doppler.
Yeah, exactly. This is the zero Doppler. This is about disclosure rate that you see here.
But isn't that right in the middle?
No, that's it. No, because when a target is notching or in the middle of clutter, the closure rate is so here VC equals VF14. Instead, in zero Doppler, VC is basically 0 plus minus 133 plus minus 100.
Well, what do you mean by velocity here? Are you meaning just closure?
Yep. Okay. So, hold on, let me pause.
My understanding is the other way around.
What do you mean? I mean, when you are traveling, let me get rid of these sketches.
So my understanding is if you're doing 500 knots over the ground at the 500 knot closure mark, that's where the the MLC filter should be, plus minus 100, whatever the width of that gate is.
Well, the easiest way to show it to you is re-adding the other unit that was orbiting, and we can compare the closure rate.
And we could flip MLC on and off.
I'll show you. It takes a second because it is already there. I tend to not delete units. Let's see if it's far away enough. Yeah. Because I don't have active pose anymore in this scenario, so I want it to orbit. Yes, I feel that should work. Why I keep saving? And the other thing I wanted to discuss, for example, there's an island in this map. Actually, let's start by showing the contact, and then I'll show you the island. You see what I mean. Well, I don't need one bar if I'm into his auto. Sorry, almost there. I set it to spawn later, so he didn't add any issue. In the meantime, keep in mind this island. Syria Island, okay? So, what is the closure rate between us and that island? Let's say we're flying at 400 knots.
400 knot ground speed, that'll be 400 knots to closure.
Okay, so how come it doesn't show up? So which speed we are filtering out, pretty much? Which
MLC should be filtering 400 plus minus 100.
Nope. Why? So let's keep an eye on this target. I mean, we've seen the zero Doppler. Okay, this guy is about to enter the main lobe. See the... oh, actually. I disabled the filter so we can keep an eye on it. See the closure rate, is already 550. We are flying at 480. So if you do the math, is there? Is in the filter. Does it make sense? Let me pause. Let me know if it doesn't make sense to you. Because we are here to discuss issues and misunderstandings.
Yes.
So this is the closure rate. So this guy is closing at 377 and is about the bottom part of the MLC. If we do 380, what was it? 482 minus 133, what comes out? 350-ish, more or less. So in theory, when this closure rate is lower than 350, I should be able to see it again. Oop. unless I said something very silly. Well, let's see. I take the filter out. Oh yeah, it's already beyond. Okay, 304. You're still not convinced, isn't it?
No, I mean, if it's working that way, then that's how it is. I just need to adjust my my understanding.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Just wanted to make sure that we are on the same page. You have no idea how many weeks I spent on this stuff, and later we will discuss about the vector that is shown on the TID, and that's another kind of worms. But does it make sense? The numbers that you're seeing on the screen, do they make sense?
Yeah.
So the zero Doppler is the lack of Doppler shift. The lack of so if I use so the difference between the two velocities should be F14 minus V target. So if delta V is close to 0, then you need zero Doppler filter. And the mellow clutter instead depends on basically the aspect. If you're as fast as the terrain. So that's why I was saying, what's the closure rate between the Tomcat and that island?
I think you said 400.
Yep. So now we're flying 482 there. Let's say 400 anyway. So the closure rate and the part that is filtered by the radar to remove this island from our display is in that speed interval. Does it make sense?
Yep.
I know that's why I said one of the very first things is that we don't spend the whole day, in a cockpit or on the books studying these sort of things. So that kind of not everything is very intuitive all the time. It just takes time to understand them and memorize them. So now the closure is going up. We are 483 knots minus 133. Actually, let's have a look in the meantime. Let's go back to the zero Doppler. So this guy is now, what is he doing now? So when it goes below 100, it should disappear. And there we go, it's gone. So the zero Doppler filter floats depending on the speed, and the main lobe clutter is pretty much spot on. If you're in beam, it's pretty much spot on in the middle. See, now it's coming back. Does it make sense? Again, if not, give me a shout, it's not a problem.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Everyone else happy?
They are.
Okay. So many other topics that we can discuss. A big one is the vector that is displayed. Why I used this better? Is displayed on the TID in aircraft stabilized mode. So, well, let's use active pose. The PTID, big and fancy, has lots of different additional things. So one of the cool things is the bullseye. You see the reference of the aircraft and the target depending on if you hook something or waypoint, etc. Another cool thing is that when you have targets close together, you can use the EXP to kind of zoom in. But besides the new feature, is always pretty much the same in terms of how the vectors are displayed. So we have aircraft stabilized mode, we have the attack mode that shows the horizon as well, and we have the ground stabilized mode, which is kind of the God's eye view. Now, the aircraft stabilized mode is awesome, it's fantastic, because it shows you some So the relation between the two aircraft and the closure rate. Now, to explain that, I need to open a parenthesis that will touch intercept geometry. But before doing that, it's better if we just show how it works. So, again, this took me ages to figure it out because I'm dumb. I'll explain you why later. So, aircraft stabilized mode, everything is shown by the perspective of the F-14. Let's say we have a velocity vector that goes up this way. So a vector has a direction and a scalar. I don't know if you're familiar with middle school, probably the first couple of years high school. I don't know if you study these sort of things. And this aircraft has its own same thing. Now, the vector, the direction of this target is not this one. This is such a direction would be appropriate if we were in ground stabilized mode, but we're not. What we're seeing here is the length depends on the closure rate, and this vector is actually created by the subtraction of the two vectors that represent the velocities. So let's say there's an aircraft that is going, how do I represent it? Let's say this is in ground stabilized for a second, or actually this is the velocity vector of this target, and we are here, and this is ours. If you do a geometrical subtraction of these vectors, you should point this vector here down there, and then you connect, oh boy, and then you connect the two ends, and this part here is what is displayed over here. So yeah, not complicated once you know what you're looking at, but it can be a bit tricky in the beginning. So if I were to show how this is, let me replicate this situation before. So this is our velocity vector. There's another target that is going in this direction. So I take my vector, I put it on there, and I connect it. And this is what is displayed. So in this case, I might have a target that is going, so we're going this direction, and a target is going this direction. And this is why it's displayed in such a way. If I go in the F10 map, I should be able to see something that is going, we were going east, I think. So it should be going southwest, I think. Let me have a look. Yeah, more or less. Doesn't make any sense. Too fast. Probably explain way too fast. I grab some water in the meantime. I don't know if you are confused or everything is so easy that you just understood everything, which would be great.
Someone has just asked to speak, so I'll promote them.
I just say, yeah, I think that makes sense. But I wonder if you could maybe, could you just draw a diagram for like maybe a more extreme example, or like a more extreme angle, so it's maybe easier to demonstrate?
Well, we can still use this guy. Let's monitor where he's going.
When I was learning this, Karen, comparing the ground stab to the aircraft stab and seeing the difference between those vectors was what made it click for me.
I can do that. I don't know if you see it properly, or I need to use the offset. So the target is now moving away. You see it there. See that it's moving away. This is the like the F10 map, exactly the same thing. I don't know if you can see it properly, but it's moving in the southeast direction now. Okay. Let's go back to.
Yep, all good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all good. That's good.
has moved back to aircraft stabilized mode, and we see something like that. Can you imagine why? So we said that we are moving in this direction. Again, everything is relative to the F-14. So I know we are moving east in the F-10. But in aircraft stabilized mode, we are looking from the perspective of the F-14. And then we know that this target is going, who's it going? Basically east, something like that. Let me double check, because I'm approaching the issue from the other direction. This guy is going, 100. So this guy instead is going in, if I flip in 90 degrees, it would be kind of this direction. Okay? So this is the target, and this is the F-14. Okay, all clear up to here? Up to this point?
Yes.
What happens when you put these two vectors together and you do the geometrical subtraction as you did in high school or mid school? You put them F-14 target, and this is, well, it's not really precise, but because it was closer. It depends on the velocity as well, of course. But it should be, if I try to be a bit more precise, it should be something like that, and the resulting vector is this one, which is kind of approximates. So it's not showing where the target is going. It's showing if there's a closure rate, positive or an opening. See, this is the target that is going away. See that the vector is, it looks like this. Why? Because it's moving away. In which direction? Same direction. So this is the easiest case, because we have our F-14 going this direction, and the target that is going much faster in this direction. So how do you do geometrically this calculation? You just overlap the vector on the other, and basically the result is this long. This is the vector, the resulting vector here. It's not complicated, but again, I fully understand if you don't remember from high school or mid school. It's more complicated than it sounds.
No, the way you've drawn it together makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I definitely don't remember it from school.
It's been more than 20 years ago for me. That's why I spend a lot of time, because I did it in the opposite direction. I did the addition and not the subtraction, and it took me ages to figure out there was a subtraction. So I spent like 2 weeks to figure out how it works. Back in the day, there was basically no documentation about it on Cut. So yeah, it took some time.
Yeah, joining lines together is more my speed, yeah.
Yeah, because that's how you take the two vectors. The location in the space when you do these sort of things doesn't matter. You just take one vector, the other vector, you connect the ends. So in this case, again, one is going this direction, the other one is going this direction, and this is what comes out. And this is what is displayed. The length depends on the closure rate. Again, the easy solution is, the easiest situation, is an aircraft. Let me draw it this way. Let's say this is an aircraft that flies down. We are flying straight towards them. At this point, how do you calculate this? You just take, so the F-14 and the other one, and the vector that results is basically super long, because the closure rate is very high, because this one goes there and this one goes there. You can do it with the arrows, but yeah. Instead, if you do the opposite, let's say we do the opposite direction with the same length, basically they annul each other, and you end up in a zero Doppler filter, because you would take this one, put it there, and they are basically going in the same direction. So the difference here, there's no difference, and it becomes zero. I don't know if I'm overcomplicated the thing. It was easier before. I hope.
Yeah, no, I know. I think that the way that you joined up the triangle was the easiest way of doing it. And I suppose you've always got the ground stab to use as a sense check if you want to check again.
Yeah, aircraft stability is much better, and after closing these parentheses, we get to the intercept geometry, and you will see why. It's phenomenal. What you should remember is that it's longer. Why is it not working? Oh yeah, it's longer when like there's I V sub C, and it's shorter when there is low V sub C. And if it's negative, like in this case, it's running away, it actually may go up. This is negative, so you know where it's going. The direction shows where the target is going over time, which is great when we have a look later at the collision course. So if I were to show the position over time, this target is going to fly in this direction as we approach. So let's say a few seconds later the target is here and we are here. And then I can't really drop. Then there, and we are here. And then here, and we are here. So basically we know that he's going to pass on our right side, exactly in the direction that the vector is pointing towards. Make sense? Now, intercept geometry. Are you familiar with intercept geometry? At least the basic angles, not the theory.
I'm not, but I want to speak for everybody.
All right, so let's jump in cockpit. This is the only scenario that I pre-prepared because collision course is a bit tricky to nail randomly. I didn't want to launch the mission like 10 times in a row.
So there is just quickly a question that's come up in the Discord chat that might be worth going over.
Go ahead.
Where with the relative vectors in the aircraft stabilized mode, how do you determine the direction, the actual overground direction of travel of a contact? Because you could easily have a contact moving away from you over the ground that you are still closing with. So the vector in aircraft stabilized will still be pointed towards you.
Yeah, you basically don't. You can assess the drift. You can assess. You can hook it, and you see data on information on the TID. The per se, you don't really see the actual direction, but it's not really that it matters too much, because this is great for kind of plotting the intercept, understanding where the target is going, and if you're closing or not, and how things will be in the future, so to speak.
So I at least answered my technique is usually just to flick to ground stab quickly, and that'll tell you.
I don't think I ever used ground stab besides for an upgrade. But yeah, I'm a bit weird, so whatever works for you. Let me set up. Can't see anything. Oh, there we go. All right, so yeah, on pause. Let me find the page. Ugly. Hello, angles. Have you seen this chart before? I take it as a no.
Well, it only just appeared on stream, so.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Mind the delay.
So I at least have, but I've read your book, so I'm not a good example.
I'll take it as a.
I've got it from the book as well.
Best chart ever made.
But I have to say, it's still not 100% clear.
These are in a single chart, almost everything, almost all the parameters that are involved when you're describing a situation. Let me just hook someone. This guy. Height. Hold on. Let me set. There's a reason why I never use automatic. No, this one. There we go. Need to pause. Reset the view. Okay. Now, are you familiar at least with the definition, sort of like target aspect? What is the target aspect, for example? Or what is the antenna triangle?
I think some of us are, but it may be a good idea just to quickly go over it again.
Okay, ATA, the antenna triangle is the relative. No, yellow over white is not a great choice. Is the so-called relative bearing. So it's the bearing, but not from the north. Normal bearing you get for the bra, it depends on the north. So if this is your compass, and this is the north, target is 090, you know where to look. If you are using the ATA, 090 is always basically where the right wing is, because you use your aircraft. It doesn't matter where you're looking. This is always 0, and this is 90 degrees. Okay? And is also what is displayed down there in the DDD. I think they changed. It used to be displayed here, but I think they changed in the BU. Probably because there are other ways to figure out that value. Anyway, is the angle from the nose, simply put. So next, target aspect. Target aspect is the supplementary angle. So target aspect, and aspect angle are the supplementary angles. It means that if you add them up, the total is 180 degrees. So if you do TA plus AA equals 180 degrees. Now, the Air Force uses the aspect angle, the Navy uses the target aspect. Why? Don't know. Every time I ask someone, they kind of either mention, all the rules and conventions, or they just say that the other branch is weird, which I totally agree. So I still haven't figured out why someone uses an angle and the other one uses the other one. To me, the target aspect made more sense. So this guy is 15 left. It means that we are looking. So this is the aircraft coming this direction. The angle here between his direction and our perspective is 15 degrees towards the left. So we are looking at this left side. So this is the left and this is the right. Again, the aircraft is traveling this direction. Does it make sense? So it's not from our perspective, it's the perspective of the target itself. So 15 degrees is probably, yes, so this would be probably our perspective. And in fact, it makes sense because we're kind of seeing, I know already the geometry of this one, so trust me when I say that this target is flying straight down. And this is the angle that is creating, which is also equal to the ATA in this case, but that's another different thing. So target aspect is how the target appears from our perspective, considered from the nose. So if one target is right in front of our F-14, TA is 0. If the target is going this direction, TA is 180. Instead, if you have flown on the F-16 or the Phantom, is the opposite. So aspect angle should be 18, because normally they use 2 figures. And in this case, the aspect angle is 0. I don't know why they do that. But does it make sense? That makes sense what he says, what it means?
Yes, it does.
So target aspect is here. So left target 15 degrees. That can be again left, right, depending on how the target appears. Well, range is the range. So there's the SR slant range. And then we get into things that are a bit more interesting, which are the lateral separation. Lateral separation, according to the books, the public books, is defined as 40,000 times target aspect times range. I think something like that. I haven't looked at it in ages. So basically, is the distance that there is between our aircraft here and the target in terms of the two headings. So is the projection of our position, the distance pretty much, on the path that the target is flying. We use it because it basically tells you, let me do an example, let's say target is going this direction and we're flying this direction. So the lateral separation is this one. We use it because at some point, if we want to do a conversion turn, we need a certain degree of horizontal space. We don't want it to be too much, we don't want it to be too low. Because if the target is there, I mean, how do you turn behind it? I mean, you should do that, something like that, which is a bit weird, if that makes sense. Gonna wait 5 seconds so you see the last weirdness that I do. That I've drawn. Does it make sense? Again, they are very alien in terms of these concepts are all, you know, very alien. But if you just leave them in the back of your mind, they will make more sense when we actually look at them. Happy? I think it is a yes. Now, DTG is also called HCA, heading crossing angle, or degrees to go. I prefer degrees to go because it means it will say basically it represents how many degrees you need to turn to go in the same direction. I know, it's a weird concept. It was used back in the day before the target aspect became more popular in intercepts. So it means that if DTG is 180 degrees, it means that we are going in the exact opposite directions. If DTG, because we need to turn 180 degrees to basically turn in the same direction. DTG is 90 degrees, then we are orthogonal. And then all sorts of combinations in the middle. Now the cut is a concept that is obsolete and let me restart. Is the supplementary angle to the HCA. So again, DTG or HCA, whatever you want to call it, plus cut means 180 degrees. The cut was used by the Navy, and the other two, actually just one, was used by the Air Force. Again, why? I have no idea. The latest version of the PA25 that was public said that the cut is not used anymore. And I found an article from the mid-80s where it kind of tells, explains the transition between degrees to go to aspect. So there's a shift between probably the mentality of how the intercepts were made. I have no idea. You need to speak with someone that was actually a pilot to have more information. But once again, I have no idea why one was using one angle and the other one the other one. Anyway. And more or less, they say this cut and degrees to go say the same thing. The only difference that when cut is zero cut. If you read my book, probably you heard about zero cut. When cut is 0, we are going in the opposite direction. When cut is 90 cut, we are going orthogonal, and so on. I know it's a bit messy. We're almost there. Now, there are two peculiar situations that are very easy to identify on the TID in aircraft stabilized mode, and they are explained as basic kind of situations that you can use when you do an intercept. One is CC, collision course. And the other one is 0 cut, which is also 180 HCA of DTG, which is 180 HCA or DTG. Now, these are two of my favorite situations, and the scenario that I put together show them both. So let's start by the 0 cut. This is 0 cut. So we are basically going into opposite directions. Okay. So I don't know if you remember Euclides. Okay, I'm not gonna quote Euclides, but he has a bit of, you know, postulates and stuff about the parallel lines. But one of the things that you may remember from the parallel lines is that if you have a line that is cutting two parallel lines, you have identical angles. I don't remember, I have no idea how they're called in English. So when a target is going 0 cut, on the TID the line is straight down, so it's very easy to identify. And the TA equals the ATA, and over time this relation is maintained. Does it make sense? Silence.
Yes.
I know it's weird, but it's cool. Because what happens is that
it does make sense.
Over time, so in previous the lateral separation doesn't change. So this is the lateral separation. So if someone is flying in the opposite direction but parallel, the lateral separation is always the same. So if you want to do an intercept by the book with a conversion turn by the book, etc., I don't think that no one ever do. Once you have set up a proper lateral separation value, you can change geometry into 0 cut, and then this value is captured, so it doesn't. Lateral separation is always there, even over time, which is great. But the cool thing about the 0 cut is that the angles double as the range is halved. So if at 80 nautical miles target aspect is 20, at 40 nautical miles TA should be 40, isn't it? I think so. I don't know if I can represent it properly here. Let me see if I can. I'm really awful with the graphic tablet. So at this range you have these angles at half of the range, so it should be something like that, suppose. The angle is almost double. I don't know if you can see it properly. It looks a bit on the double side, but yeah. Again, sorry about that. I'm awful with the tablet. So what this means that if you see a target that is going straight down, you can tell in advance how the geometry will look like in a certain amount of time. So when this target now is 15, is 90, let's say 90 is easier, is 15, when the target is down there at 45, target aspect will be, you will say like LT 30, probably only more or less. So you already know how it will change, how the geometry will change over time. So depending on what you want to do, you can use this value. Let's say you want to keep the angles down because you want to launch a Phoenix, right? If you are at 90 nautical miles with 50 TA, by the time that the Phoenix arrives there, I mean the missiles, yeah, they have the English bias and some certain, changes in geometry, so they don't suffer too much. But let's say you want to fire at 50 or 40. If you don't change the geometry, by the time you get to 40, again, target aspect becomes 30. So it's a bit too much. It's not really the best angle. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So you know already that you should change this geometry. For example, you can turn towards the left and make the intercept hotter. So basically you try to grind down the target aspect from 15 to maybe 5, and then you can turn again to, if you put it down to 5 and then you turn again to 0 cut, then you will have 5 miles at, let's say 80, you will have at 40 nautical miles, you will have 10 degrees of target aspect, which is fine for a missile, for a Phoenix. It's never great to have 0 target aspect in real time because in reality, starting to mix Italian because I'm tired. Because you are straight in front of the target, so you are basically in his radar cone. But yeah, we're talking about angles. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, still yes.
Yep.
Again, I know it's very alien from what we do compared to what we do, and this is very from the books and very kind of easy. But the goal later is that you have your TID. This is how the vector looks like. You hook it, you see the range, you see the target aspect, and you think, okay, I want to engage with a missile. Okay, I know already what to do, which is command the turn towards the left. So left, I don't know where let's say we're going due north. I don't know. Hard left or whatever you want to turn. Easy left. 330. No, 330. Yeah, 330. 330, and so you turn in this direction, you grind down the angle from 15 to 5, and then you can turn due north again. And when the target is at 40 mile, at this point, the missile shouldn't struggle, shouldn't have any issue. Phoenix, I mean, it depends on the missile. Again, the missiles use techniques to avoid, being dragged. But still, the higher closure rate you can give them, the better. So this is something that you can do. Vice versa, if you are one in front of the other, but you want to do a visual intercept, for example, or you have an F4 with the M9B, which is rear aspect. You don't see this vector, but you see the geometry of the DDD. You see the target is basically going down this direction. You know that you should turn and then do the conversion later. So these concepts are applicable pretty much everywhere. Okay, I hope it makes sense because it's easier than it sounds when you understand them, when you get used to them. But the first time you see them, it's a bit of a mess. All good so far?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, good.
Alright, the other guy is on a collision course. Collision course is great because it does something different and it captures the angles rather than the lateral separation. So this guy captured the lateral separation. This guy captures target aspect. So the target aspect won't change. So collision course is a bit weird and has lots of properties. So for example, if you see a target looking outside 20 degrees, physically 20 degrees outside of your cockpit, it will always stay there. It never changes. If you drive your car, for example, and you see another car that is not moving and is coming towards you, it means there is a collision course. It's not great. I don't know if any of you has ever, rented a boat or something on when you at the seaside or something. I did it last year, for example, in Greece, in Corfu. My wife spotted a couple of small boats rented by someone else around, and she said, "Okay, keep an eye on those." I immediately noticed that they weren't standing still compared to my perspective, so I wasn't on a collision. They weren't a problem, unless they were turning. But I don't know if it makes sense. It means that the target is always there. It appears almost immobile in the in your field of view, and we will see it later happening. And the target aspect will never change. So target aspect 17 is always the same. So let's say the example of the missile before, let's say we start with, I don't know, a very high target aspect, let's say 50 degrees. You can try to take it down to, let's say, 15 by basically making the intercept hotter, so you turn into the target. And when you are at 15, you turn to collision course, and then that 15 stays there. It doesn't change anymore. The cool thing about the TID in aircraft stabilized mode is that this vector, if you're on a collision course, this vector points towards your F-14 itself. So if you see that the vector is pointing there, and there's actually a better way to see it, which is the launch zone, because the vectors become longer. They are not related to the collision course anymore, but they're longer. And we will see later that they will. I mean, I don't know how precise it is because I cannot put them there. But if we were in a perfect collision course, it will probably impact us. Okay, I said a lot of things. Happy so far?
Very much so.
Good. Now, let's get rid of this thing. Now, if I... Okay, we don't need the DDD. Let's go back to the... Okay, now. Let's see how this guy is doing. So, he was 15 in the beginning. So, let's say 58... 15 in the beginning at 85 nautical miles. This one was, I don't know the range, it was pretty much, I think it was 85 as well, and it was 16, I think, something like that. So let's see over time how it changes. So the target aspect of the one on zero cut is already going up. Let's see the one on a collision course. Is still was 17 or 16? Oops. I think it was 17. Anyway, depends how precise the collision course is, but you see the difference already. Is still there. Let's go back to the zero cut. So let's see at 60 miles what happens. So 60 miles, the angle is 21. Let's go back to collision course and have a look at 60 miles what happens. Still 17. Oh, by the way, the altitude now is represented with 2 digits, which is a welcome improvement, I suppose. You know, higher resolution, more information displayed, which is great. So rather than being an altitude block with a kind of 5,000 feet offset, now is fairly precise. Speed up time, let's go down to 40 nautical miles. Oh, actually, we pause. So it was about 85, I said. So now we are, yeah, almost there, 42. At 42 nautical miles, target aspect is 30, which is twice this value. I don't hear no one, anyone cheering, anyone, amazed by these amazing geometrical facts. No, no one, no. You still awake?
Still awake, yes.
Come
it's
on,
great to
it's
see
nice, isn't it?
The thing that
it's cool,
yeah,
isn't
the
it?
thing that you theorized before and to see it happen on the screen, it's quite satisfaction.
Because at the end of the day, what I want you to understand is that once you get used to these sort of things, it takes just a glance to the TID to understand how things will change in the future. I mean, assuming the targets don't move around. But yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. So this guy at 40 nautical miles is still 17, looks like. Let me move the antenna around a bit. So let's see 30 nautical miles, because we noticed that at 60 it was 21, so now we expect something closer to 42. Let's see if we win something. I mean, I approximated the values, and the relation is not spot on, it's more like a rule of thumb, but as you can see, 42, it just became 43. So if I were to check F-15, I should be able to see, I mean, more than 80 degrees probably. Well, we can actually kind of eyeball it, because if this is, I mean, it will become extrapolated, but probably will be down, kind of down there. But yeah, cool, isn't it? Alright, let's go back to our collision course guy. Still 17. So, something cool that you can, for example, do is set up collision course, tell the pilot where the target is in terms of antenna train angle, so the relative azimuth. You can tell the pilot the target is 20 right. So if he knows where 20 right is, he can just look outside and see the target. Too far. How far it is? Oh, 50 miles. It's too far. Speed up time. So it's changing now, 16 because it's not perfect. Okay, there it is. Again, it's not perfect because I just put them there. And also, there is an observation that I'll make later. About how the angles change. See, there it is. So it's not perfect collision course, because that's why we would have hit each other. But if we consider the fact that we started, what, 80 miles? Separated by like 80 miles or something, it's pretty nice. Now, the observation that I wanted to make is the angles change much faster as the range goes down. and this applies to everything pretty much. I think a easy example is if you are driving your car. Which is totally a car. And there's another car coming. So this is your heading. This is the antenna turn angle. And this is the target aspect. And there's a certain distance. As you can see already, if the target, the car in the opposite direction, hopefully you're not shooting it so it's not a target, is much closer, the angles change very quickly, very quickly, compared to how they change when they were far away. It's probably even easier if I just draw a very long line. So imagine, I don't know if you've been to Iceland, there are some roads that are like 3-4 kilometers long, it's perfectly straight. So if I'm here and the other car is there, in terms of angles, they are minimal. But if the other car is basically passing next to me, see how big the angles are. They change much quicker compared to where they're far away. And in theory, if you were to put the target kind of at infinite distance, the target would be kind of at 0 ATA, I suppose. That makes sense? Does it make sense?
Yes.
So this is kind of the basics of geometry, and the idea is looking at something that is happening on your TID and on the DDD, and you figure out what to do. So I'm open to suggestions if you want to try something.
I just had a question.
Yeah.
In the older Tomcats, you had near the TID, you had a button for the RIO to select collision course. I mean, collision steering.
Yep.
On a hooked TID. Is that still a thing in the BU? Do you still have that option? Because I didn't see it in the cockpit.
Probably yeah, but I haven't really looked into the BU myself because it's boring. It's too easy. No, I'm
And
joking.
also, I've never used that. I've never used that that button. Actually,
No, me neither.
I'm guessing it gives steering indication to the pilot to put certain contact on a collision course.
We can
I have
have a look.
used it. My understanding is it in TWS it will steer towards the mean centroid of the first X many targets. I forget how many, but it'll try to keep the center of those targets. It will steer towards the center of them.
Okay, I'm placing a target that won't defend or won't do anything. Reaction to threat. No reaction.
If you're looking for a practical example of these, Caron, a good one there might be a range estimation by ATA change by just looking at the DDD.
Sorry? I didn't understand.
If you're looking for the practical example, a good example might be trying to estimate range to a target by just looking at the rate of change of ATA on the DDD or azimuth on the DDD.
Like we do in the Phantom, pretty much.
Yeah. So if you first see a contact at X azimuth, and sometime later it's at 2X azimuth, per what you've said earlier, that means your range to that target's halved.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I don't know how to use them, but I'll show you the. I know you like this thing. I don't like JDAM. You type the coordinates and you kill a target. So skill intensive. No, I'm joking. I just prefer the good old Cold War. Alright, so this target is not gonna do anything. How far is it? 82 miles. I was forgetting something. Let me get something bigger, like a Sukhoi 27. I was forgetting the AGC to estimate range. 150 should be right. Let's do that. What's the altitude? Same. Let's go a bit faster, otherwise we'll never meet each other. So yeah, in the mission editor you can set up whatever you want in a couple of clicks, which is great in my opinion. You can test pretty much any scenario that you want to test. So what I'll do now is try to figure out the range. Kind of, you know, kind of eyeballing it. Doesn't really matter if he's not correct. But the idea is that I know that something is there in that direction. So I can expect maybe trouble rather than something, depending on the tasking I have. Because even knowing that something is there is better than not knowing anything, if that makes sense. What do I need to set? Phoenix. Alright. So pulse Doppler search. Let's open up the thing. I forgot to shadow. Okay. Well, I mean, this is easy because I have the RWR, so I know what the target is already. Let's pretend the radar is off. Because otherwise, you can already correlate. You know, you have kind of indicative azimuth there, and you can correlate the other bits and pieces. But let's pretend we don't know that. So is minor, but you see. So we're checking lower, checking same altitude. See, you see a spike. That's minimal. Most of the time you just don't see it. But the target spawned at 140 miles, so I mean. And what you notice also is that you have this spike that is going up, but you don't have a break yet. It means that something is there, 10 degrees from the left of our nose, pretty much. Same altitude, so let's kind of zero in on the target. We can move to, I don't know, 2 bars, 4 bars. 4 bars would be better, but let's keep it easy. See, he's growing. But since there's nothing on the pulse Doppler search yet, it means that maybe he's in a notch if he's fairly close, but then the AGC trace is very small, so it kind of gives an idea of that something is there, but it's very far. And again, this is correlated and confirmed by the fact that we don't have any brick in pulse Doppler search. And of course, it means that also we don't have anything in range search as well. So when you have 2 F-14s, you can stack the radars. Okay, see now we have a return on a PD. Search. Let's close the azimuth so the refresh is a bit quicker. But now if I move to range of search, I don't see anything. It means that the target is too far to have an FM ranging, which for the fighters is about 90 nautical miles, 80-90 depending on the size. But it's not like 100 and, I don't know, farther than 120 miles. Alright, does it make sense up to here?
Yeah.
So already we know that there's something out there. And then again, you can correlate with the RWR, see if something is out there, or if you have additional information from the controller, from someone else. Again, we already built the situational awareness related to something that is 100 miles away. Which is kind of mind-blowing when you then move from the Tomcat to, you know, an F-16 without data link, or an F-4, when if you see something at 40 miles, you're like, oh, 40 miles. Now, if you keep it in range of search, we should be able to see something that pops up at some point. and I suppose it will be around, yeah, 90 miles. Again, if the target if you are interested in turquoise scan, if you the target and the target is at 70 miles when it pops up. Sorry, 1 sec. And the target is at 70 miles when it pops up. It means that it is fairly small as well, maybe an F5, MiG-21, or F-16. If it's at 90, it can be like an F-16, F-15, Sukhoi 27, for example. Yeah, little things, but when you correlate them, yeah, it's coming. It's building the track. I don't remember the numbers. Yeah, almost 90 miles. So we know that this is either an F-15. I mean, it's fairly big. Either an F-14, F-15, F-15 Sukhoi 27. So and we built. So we know that there's a fighter-sized target there, and we knew it way before we were able to, engage it, like in this case. Any question? I mean, do you like it? Any question? Any?
Fairly self-explanatory so far.
Mm-hmm. Do you like what you have just seen? Have you ever used
Sure,
these sort of things?
People on the YouTube chat are saying that it's a very good presentation.
Oh, thank you. Well, what else we can do? Let's say we want to do a VID. So one of the good things that comes with the PTID is the high resolution. On top of, for example, things that are very handy when you're doing modern things, like you see the bullseye references for the target and yourself. Which is, back in the day, you had to move to ground stabilized, activate the nav grid, and then interpolate the nav grid. So, because the nav grid works in different ways for the vector, it's called vector logic, I don't remember anymore. So, I think collision, I think this button does something. I suppose. Let's have a look at it from the stick monkey seat. Let me turn on these things. Alright. So, any stick monkey here with us?
Yep.
I don't mean to disrespect.
I'm comfortable with who I am.
I suppose you're looking forward to it's called VDGAR. It's vertical display something replacement. I mean, it's pretty handy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice.
So we have just to give you some. I think this is the TCS line of sight, and if you go above a certain angle, you see the ATA up here. Bearing, I think this is from the north. No, relative, because of course the target is here. It cannot be 80 degrees. Range, altitude, V sub C. This is the relative velocity. I don't know. It's calculated. I never look into it. BT, so bullseye target. Information about the waypoint. Some other stuff. This is your bullseye instead. Classic alpha, Mach, speed, and the G's, etc. Weapon selected. I mean, lot of stuff, lots of information. One of the greatest pros of this thing is that the RIO doesn't have to give all the information anymore. What I used to do in the past, let's say from the TID, I see the target going this direction, I'm going this way. I would say to the pilot, okay, the target is like 10 right, for example. Aspect is, I don't know, so 15 left, just making it up. At 15 nautical miles. Direction of passage is left to right. It means that the target is coming from the left and will pass towards the right. I mean, lots of information that now the pilot can just look straight ahead and see. I mean, they can see everything pretty much. So there's a lot of additional steps that are now gone. And let me see. You still have the TID. Oh, by the way, let me kill this guy. Yeah, lots of different things that you can do. Video here. TID, ECM, you can override because otherwise it just pops up again. So yeah, pretty handy. Looks pretty good. So both for single players and for players that play with human RIOs. All the information that is provided now is amazing. And you can have, I think, all of them together. So you can have the TCS along the repeater and all the information on the other. So there's a situational awareness. I mean, it's massive. Now, does it change anything if I move to collision? Maybe it works with STT. Let's see if it works. Oh, it worked. Oh yeah, it works. I see that the centroid is moving. It's not a centroid anymore, but it's the T. Let me think. What do we want to do with this target? Okay, you choose. Stop. Ah, got it. What do we want to do with this target? Do we want to do a conversion? Just blow it out of the sky? You tell me.
Stern conversion seems like the sensible one with the TCS.
Yep. Alright, so what can you tell me about the situation?
Close to collision course.
So by the book, which probably no one uses or has ever used, the goal is 40,000 feet of lateral separation, which is about 7-8 miles, I think. The easy way to get this is that LS is TA times range times 10,000. Yeah, 10,000. So if we are at 10 nautical miles, to have a lateral separation of 40k, which is the goal, we need a TA of 40. Or we can turn to zero cut and try to nail the lateral separation. I mean, again, this is by the book. I probably never did this thing. But the good thing about the books is that, as I said earlier, is either outdated or, very basic stuff. And once you learn this sort of stuff, you build the modus operandi, the forma mentis, too much Latin. So the way of thinking and a way to visualize, basically, what you want to do right away. Again, I hope it makes sense. So in this case, I mean, both options work. What we can do, what I would do probably is try to nail 40 degrees of target aspect. So in this situation, if I don't do anything, will the target aspect go up or down?
Like in the situation right now, I'd say it wouldn't change much.
Yeah, it will change.
Really close to. If you get really close, it'll increase dramatically.
Yep. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, when we are very close, then it goes up by a lot. But that's the beauty of the TID aircraft stabilized mode, is that this target is flying in this direction and will pass to our right. It means that the target aspect will go up. Because again, the aspect is let's say target is this one. Target aspect is this angle. Actually, let me. So switching from the pen to this is sometimes a bit tricky. Okay. Resize this a bit. So that's the target aspect. So the target goes. So at the moment we are basically in this situation pretty much, the one that is described here. But as the time passes, the target will fly in front of us. And let's say the target is kind of blocked, stopped in space. No, it doesn't move. Well, if we kind of lock into space, let's say it uses active pose, our aircraft will kind of shift in this direction, if that makes sense. And it means that the target aspect will continuously go up. So this will be the target aspect. I don't know if it makes sense. I'm trying to different ways to kind of explain it, but I don't know if it becomes very more complicated.
Yeah, it does.
It's more complicated.
No, that makes sense.
Okay, so what I would do probably in this situation is turning left. So by doing so, I will make the intercept colder, because hot is when you are basically one pointing at each other. I don't have a sketch, but probably you're aware of the aspects. So this is stand by. This is an aircraft. Like this is hot. Then you have flanking, cold, and this sort of thing. So cold, beaming, flanking. It changes a bit depending of the version of the document you're looking at, and if you're using Air Force or Navy. Okay. So we make it colder. We turn away. The target aspect will increase. When we are close to 40, we turn inside. How much? That's tricky because it depends on the speed. Something that I normally do is I do double the antenna turn angle. So when we are in this position, let me get rid of stuff. I don't want to cancel everything. When we are in this position, the target aspect would be, looks almost 45-ish. This will be 40. No, what am I saying? That's the target aspect. Hold on. We want beam. There's no point in beaming. We can turn like this much when we really have no space to maneuver. So we really need to build up a lot of angles. But in this case, we can just turn this direction. There's no need to turn this much. So when a target aspect becomes 40, I normally take this angle and I double in the other direction. So I'm going this direction, and let's say this is 40, then I go 80 in the other direction. At this point, the target will be on my left. I don't know if it makes sense again. With the delay, probably not much. And then I adjust it from there.
It's like a big S turn.
Sorry?
It's like a big S turn, like the
S10? Not for me.
Sorry, S turn. Like
more or less.
Drawing a big S, yeah.
Yeah. Again, this is pretty much by the book, and probably no one does it. But the idea is, as I said a few times, glance at the TID, know what you want to do, and just take action and maneuver immediately. Again, you see the vector, where the vector is going, you see the angles, and you know already that you need to do a VID. Then okay, we can set up for stir conversion or whatever is needed to do. Alright, shall we give it a go? Why is no? Okay, let's get rid of this stuff. Okay, let's unpause. Okay. So, alright, I have Iceman. I don't know what we can do, but let's go 45 left. The problem of Iceman is that it's very slow in terms of turning. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain because we need something, you know, a bit more reactive at this point. I set the time to 50%. So if you hear weird stuff, that's the reason why. Now we can place the target near the gimbals, and probably with a human pilot, that's what I would do. But again, with Iceman, yeah, it's a bit. So the first thing you notice, time is running half at the speed that it is supposed to, but the aspect angle is going up quite a lot because we are almost not moving away, but a bit. You can also track the drift on the DDD. You see that it's moving towards the left. Yeah, I don't think I'll manage to do it because again with Iceman, you know, worst case scenario I'll have to drive it myself. And yeah, I actually plugged in the joystick, which is amazing. Normally don't do it. See, if you have noticed how fast the target aspect is going, and as the range decreases, the drift ratio, so the speed at which the angle change, goes up by a lot. And as you can see, actually it's quite interesting. I'll show you a bit better. So if you set the raise to the minimum, you actually see, you know, the shades. So if you see all the shades in this direction, it means that the relative geometry is quite stable. If it tends to become almost horizontal, it means that the drift ratio is very, very high. Yeah, makes sense?
Yep.
Right, now, I don't know if Iceman can do this turn. Let me start it. I'll tell it to start it right now, but I don't think he can make it. Come on, come on. Slow. Too slow, too slow, too slow. Right, I'll try to do it myself.
Who's the stick monkey now?
Don't insult me. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible because you don't know where the joystick is. It's basically behind my shoulder. It's not really ideal. It is what it is. Alright, so. Alright, got it. You see the vector? I'm not on a collision course now. Because it should be pointing at my towards the center, towards the F-14. Also, since Iceman is so slow, is basically a mess, and all the angles are wrong. Because the aspect is now 47. Since the turn, so let me explain it because it matters. Things change over time. So if, let's say this is a constant kind of polling of the position. If we turn at this ratio, we end up here. If we turn at a slower pace, sorry, wrong one. If we aim to turn to arrive here, if the turn rate is not enough, by the time that we turn, the target is not here anymore, but maybe it's down there. If we pull too hard, instead we end up here, and the target is up there. That makes sense? So you need to kind of do the turns in a decent way, not like Iceman is doing them. Because otherwise, of course, you just mess up. But yeah, what matters is that you kind of see the point of this simple example. So this is not unrecoverable. because it's actually fairly easy to recover, because what I have to do now is turning hard left and then turn back into. Does it make sense? Because let's see from the F10 map, probably you can see it better. I see, now I have room, I've created room. Actually, later I'll open TacView so we can actually see it better from there. So earlier we were in this situation. We turned away and now the target is there, and the plan was turning, sorry. We build the angles, come on. We build enough angles to enable, to basically build up this room and then turn behind the target. Now we are almost there, almost done. We're going in this direction, we're going in this direction. These are, so slant range is 12 nautical miles. The problem is that this angle is a bit high, it's almost 50 degrees, so it's a bit high. We should be able closer, probably here, I suppose. Oh yeah, this is what it is. So what I'll do now is turn left and then start the conversion immediately. It's not a clean maneuver, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Again, what I would like to convey is that you can recover the maneuver and the passages that we are kind of following. And then if it's rubbish, it doesn't matter. Happy?
Nice.
Do I have to be the stick monkey again? God damn it. Oh, let me sort out the view. Now, something that can help is STT impulse now, because otherwise I will lose the target, probably, because I need to turn this way. Let me speed up time. Now I have 90 cut, and then I try to turn into. Not enough. I probably, yeah, nowhere near enough. I should have turned more. Yeah, I should have turned way more. Yeah, I messed up. Hold on. Let me see if I can recover. Again, I have this joystick is basically behind my shoulder, which is the most uncomfortable thing because I'm looking at the wall and not at the screen, so it's not ideal. And also, I never said I'm a stick monkey, so yeah. Pull harder, maybe I can recover now.
It's just good advertising.
Sorry, I've guessed.
Why
One sec.
It's a two-person aircraft.
Sorry, my wife came in. Sorry, what was I saying?
I was just saying this is a good advertisement for, it's a two-person aircraft and why it's a two-person aircraft.
Yeah. And also, yeah, slightly detail. You're supposed to have a speed advantage when you do these sort of things because you maneuver, but these aircraft are, I think, co-speed. Oh, actually, probably this is faster. So yeah, I should have accelerated. Minor detail. Let's have a look at TacView. Again, as I said, I never said I'm a stick monkey. So this was the beginning. We stayed there for a while, turned away. See, I mean, you see what I was trying to do. No, I pulled too hard there. Yeah, at some point. Cool. Yeah. So the idea was there. The execution not much, especially because my wife entered the room. In theory, the plan was just doing this, which any stick monkey can do, but not myself. But yeah, the speed is actually a big thing because we started and we were pretty much go speed, and see now my. By the way, let me do something for you so you see a bit better. Okay. The course speed thing is actually a huge thing that should be taken into account. See, we were course speed here, and then I maneuvered, and of course in the turn I lost speed. So there's no way that you can catch up. So I should have accelerated. I should have at least moved the throttle. But again, it's behind my shoulder. It's not really something I can't even reach. But yeah, what matters is that you take your pilot to here. At this point, you tell him to turn, and that's pretty good. Make sense? Feel free to throw the banana back from the front seat to the back seat, and have a laugh on my, Yeah. Let me know if it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Again, pretty easy when you know what you're looking at. I have some videos when I did it a bit better because I repositioned the joystick. So key point here though is the speed. The speed is something that the pilot should probably have a look at. It should be always positive. But if you look here, this is I think it's V sub C. Yeah, rate of closure. Chances that it will become negative. Yeah, there we go. If it's negative, besides the fact that I was turning away to get more room, if it's negative, you're not gonna catch it. If I had been faster, probably would have made it anyway. But yeah, I was so slow that I couldn't. But again, doesn't really matter. Just the point is that you understood what I was trying to say. So last time, actually, I can show relative bearing. No, which one is the target aspect? Aspect angle. This is the opposite. So this is the aspect angle and not the target aspect. So if you take 168, you take away 180, you find what we're looking for. So actually we can just use the compact. So in this case, our target aspect was about 10 degrees, nowhere near enough, because if you try to project, let me get as close as possible. If we try to project this, yep. One day I learned to use a graphic tablet. The two headings, I mean, there's no way that you can. I mean, how do you turn? You should do something like that. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? It doesn't really work. Instead, we managed to create room. We turned. So again, this is the aspect angle. So once the aspect angle is 1/4, then we can turn in. And that's pretty much when I told Iceman to turn by took a century and a half, because at this point we should have already start. But it was so slow that then I picked up myself and I messed up. But you see the point. Up to here it was fine. And yeah, the idea should have been to do this sort of maneuver. So once you are here, and then you roll out basically a couple of miles behind the target. Alright. Okay, anything else you want to see?
There's possibly a practical kind of just question at least to ask around. You were saying that some of these intercepts, especially these stern conversions, require you to have quite a significant potentially speed advantage. What are your intercept options if you don't have a significant speed advantage? Are you just limited to going to collision course, hope they stay hot?
I'm not sure I'm following. So let's say the target is flying at Mach 2 and you're flying, I mean, with something that is not Mach 2 capable. Something like that.
Yep.
I suppose you want to shoot it down. I mean,
yeah, it's a thing of like what are your options, right? You presumably can't do a stern conversion like that and keep up at least.
We can fly it again and try to take the angle down, and then we shoot a Phoenix straight in front of him. Let's pretend that he's flying at Mach 2.
It's your historical case here is an
Yep.
F-14 against like a supersonic T-22.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you can do, I mean, you have the TCS, right? So, let me see how far it was pointing the other side of the map. Yeah. Because this is the same setup we used earlier as an AR-144. Yeah, let's speed up time until it shows up. Oh, by the way, if I don't select Phoenix, speed up. So you see the AGC Trace coming. Also, yeah, since we're here, see how narrow the TrackWise scan is. So TrackWise scan, which is something that is maybe worth pointing out, is very. Oh no, he's using my pen to draw. No, oh no. Let me see. Can I do? He's using the pen to move the view. How do I do it? Well, I'll do it from the cockpit. So TrackWise scan, let's say this is the side view. It's like either these, it's probably way more narrow than that, but either this high and from the top instead is wide, or is a bit taller but then is narrow. Okay, my sketches are awful. If you are in range of search compared to these, range of search would be something like that compared to TrackWise scan. Of course it takes more time. Range of search would be like, because there's 8 bars. So TrackWise scan is extremely, is like a keyhole pretty much. And the reason is that the track should be refreshed every 2 seconds. But yeah, this is a massive limitation, so use range of search. If you don't have, if you're not tracking, building situational awareness in particular for a specific target, you use range of search. It's much better. Because when you're in range of search, you have access to the controls on the side. So you can go 8 bars, 130 degrees, which is huge. It takes ages, but the problem is that the thing is that you have options. Now in this case, doesn't matter, but yeah. People that just default in TrackWise scan, no. Especially the auto. At least the manual you can move it around. Where are you? Right, shooting PD. Oh, there we go. Alright, so this guy. Okay, so 80 miles, let's say is very, very fast. There's no chance to do a stem conversion. I don't know, we can try to do a kind of almost nose-on ID with the TCS, I suppose. Again, there are probably real tactics that you can find, maybe old one, current one, I don't know if it's classified or it's restricted or anything. But what I would do in a video game, try to use the TCS, try to ID hostile, pull the trigger. So the problem is that the target aspect, it will increase, not by a lot, but it will. So we need to do a minor correction. Okay, which direction do we make the correction? Any idea?
Assuming to the right here, given the track.
Yep. Because the target will pass pretty much in this direction. We make the intercept hotter by turning towards the right. And then we basically try to shift the target here. At this point we should be in collision, not collision, on a collision course. Pretty much. Let's do it. So since we are 80 nautical miles, we have room. There's no need to have Iceman do weird things. 30 degrees should be enough. Actually, let's try to grind it down. Let's say he's higher than 11. Now, what I'm doing now is placing the target here. So the target is flying this direction. We are going this direction. By doing so, we will fly in front of the target. Oh, actually, I made a mistake. The target is not going this direction because this is not F10 map. The target is going here, still here. But we will fly in front of him. Means that the target aspect will become 0, and then we'll move towards the left. Make sense?
Yep.
So if we are here, the target is flying in this direction. Now we are seeing from this perspective, and then we move here, and we see the other side. Okay, let's carry on. Once we're happy, again, easier said than done with Iceman, but we'll see what we can do. Again, the angle change slow, kind of a slower pace when we are quite far away. Speed up time a bit. See, now the target aspect is going down. Now, given how slow Iceman is, let's go
Roger.
20. Well, yeah, it's not great with Iceman because it's very slow in terms of angle of bank in the turn radius. You cannot really tell him, you know, it's very hard to nail very clean angles. The launch zone, launch zone is not doing anything because I have the weapon selected already. We're almost on a collision.
You got it.
Come on, come on, come on. We're almost there. See, now now we are overshooting. So I need to turn way more. I love Iceman.
Copy that.
Let's see if we got it. Okay, come on. Nose up, nose up. Almost.
You got it.
To the left. It's really annoying, isn't it? It's like flying with a pilot that keeps touching, you know, the sticker you're trying to set up an intercept. Don't ask me why I know that. So let's see. We can maybe lock in STT. Now we are kind of happy in terms of angles. Let's slow down time. 30 miles. We probably won't see anything on the TCS yet. But in terms of angles, we should be alright. If I switch to collision, yeah, see, it's very close to where we are at the moment. I don't remember if collision is to turn to lead collision or not. I don't remember. But yeah, almost there. Let's say it's fine. Now, if we go to TCS and zoom in, another great advantage of the TID is the resolution. So, I mean, you can't really see anything, but it's 30 miles away. It's not really around the corner. Speed up time again. See, almost nailed the collision. Okay, yeah, let's say bad guy, cool. Click at it. Bog. So there's 1.5 million ways to do it, but I hope this makes sense.
Target 4 miles.
No, shut up, he's dead. I hope you kind of see the point of what I'm trying to do, how I manipulate angles just by looking at the TID at a glance. Again, I read books. I have no idea if this is in any way related to how it's done in real life. But it works in DCS for me at least.
I lost lock. I think he disappeared in zero Doppler. Get ready. Bandit is going down.
Go away. You and your zero Doppler. Alright, does it make sense?
Yep.
Anything else you want to have a look at?
So Skipjack did just flag a comment from the YouTube chat from a little while back, who was asking how does the RIO change either the EGI and DEST steering, when to use one or the other, and what does the symbology look like in one or the other, and how does the history system look like in EGI steering?
I have no idea.
No,
we can try to figure it out. No, I have a look at the. As I said, I didn't really spend a lot of time on the BU because I tried something else. Next video will cover this magnificent thing. That is the other. What I worked on with the devs. I mean, I say we, but they did everything I just tested. I don't know. Too many numbers. I looked into it because, for example, the lantern, I think you need to flag some waypoints in order to be used with the lantern. But I don't remember. I looked it when it was, new and just released in testing. I know you can set up like intercept, holds, and marking things. You have the flight plan. You can scroll up and down. But I admit that I didn't really look into it. Although 30 progress. No, there was something somewhere. I don't remember now. I remember mark and direct. This is to go direct to the next waypoint, which is probably the only waypoint I have in the bullseye. But yeah, honestly, I haven't really looked into it. I'm sure some better content creator will put something together. Also, what I wanted to show is applicable to every Tomcat. So even if you take the F-14A, the export A, everything works pretty much in the same way, besides the TCS, which is useful, but it's kind of niche. I don't know how often you used it in these cases. Something nice in this case instead is the lantern, because now you can use the lantern as a TCS sort of. So if I load the lantern and then get a bit closer because I don't want to spend the whole day here. Now I'm not sure I set, or I think I cancelled all my binds, key binds for the lantern because I set them up again in the beginning, then things changed. But I just want to show you very quickly how it works, which is not much to show. It's just the fact that now it works in air-to-air. It's pretty nice because it's a FLIR rather than the TCS. So if you're at night or these sort of things, TCS, FLIR. So if I just lock it up, it goes automatically there. Can almost see it already, although it is 90 miles away. You see kind of a dot. Let me just quickly check. I think I set. R Shift L. I think I deleted them. Yeah, I mean, at 80 miles, you can't really expect to see much. Let's speed up time. Again, the lantern is older compared to what we have in DCS, and I read a few discussions about the fact that many pods in DCS are too precise. see, you can track. I don't know if you can slew the radar as well, or vice versa. I actually never tried. Something that I can test at some point. But yeah, you have an additional way of tracking. More than tracking is actually kind of spotting in low visibility. Because the pilot has...
Target, 8 miles.
Be quiet. I can use the video. Not this one. That's the TCS. I don't know. There's a way to set it up here as well. Don't remember. Ah, yeah. It's just that, of course. He just bypassed me. But yeah, now it works in air-to-air as well. So if the TCS works only in daylight, now you can kind of do this sort of VID night as well. Now the resolution is low. TCS is as higher definition, but again very narrow and not a FLIR. So you have an additional tooling. Makes sense?
Yep.
Any other question?
Nothing from my side, nothing else outstanding in the Discord or YouTube chat that I can see.
Alright, are we shutting down? Are we all going to bed? What time is it? 11:19 here, so on the continent is midnight and 20.
We've already lost one of the admins here, so probably about that point.
Sorry, come again?
Well, Chess has already called it a day, so the rest of us won't be too far off.
These people. Alright. Well, I suppose we are shutting down. Well, I hope you liked it. I hope it was useful. It's been a bit messy because I wanted to kind of leave it very open to questions. And I also wanted to show how you set up, you know, the training mission to test mail-up clutter, zero-dopper filter, or various situations. When you're not doing things live, it's easier. You know, you have your script, you have a certain amount of scenarios that you prepare beforehand. But yeah, I hope it was useful. Alright, have a good night then. Thank you much. Thank you very much for the chat. No worries. Alright. Bye bye.